everybody. So, this is Tamara, your host for Queendom Conversations podcast. I have Shawnti Refuge. She is here today and she is going to be telling you a little bit about her journey and guided writing. So, I'm going to give you the stage and you go ahead and you tell me your story.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
You're
My
welcome.
name is No problem. My name is Shawnti Refuge. I'm a certified mental health coach, mental health advocate, keynote speaker, and author. And I help women to release, heal, and live their best lives with guided journaling. When you hear the word guided journaling, a lot of people are like, "What's that? I don't know what that is. How is it different from regular journaling?" I'm about to tell you. So I discovered guided journaling back in 2018. In 2018, I had a nervous breakdown. And at the time, I didn't know that's what it was I was having. I just knew I had lost complete function of all of my emotions. I could not control whatever emotion was coming out. I sometimes would try to stop myself from crying, stop myself from laughing. I couldn't stop. It was just, different emotions just going, taking turns, and I couldn't stop it. So after a month of that, I decided to go to my primary care doctor to see what in the world was wrong with me. I didn't know what was wrong. And I told her what was going on. I was, crying, screaming, yelling, having all of these negative emotions. And she said, "Oh, it sounds like you're a little depressed. Let me give you some antidepressants." And I'm like, "I don't want antidepressants. I want to know why I'm acting like this." So, but she, of course, at the time I didn't know, but she couldn't tell me. She didn't have an answer for me. Her only answer was the antidepressants. And I took them initially and I saw that they weren't working. They didn't do anything for me. It was just like popping candy. It did not have helped me to control my emotions at all. So after about 12 weeks of that, she referred me to a psychiatrist. And where I come from, we don't go see psychiatrists, because you equivocate that word psychiatrist to crazy. And only white people do that. That's how, I grew up. So I was like, oh my God, I don't want to go see a psychiatrist. I'm not crazy. It's just something wrong. And I want to know what. But she told me, she said, "I'm not saying anything's wrong with you, but I need you to go see a psychiatrist." So I had gotten to where my verbal aggression was beginning to turn physical. And I didn't want to get physical with anybody. So I was like, okay, let me go to a psychiatrist and let her tell me what's wrong with me. And I went to a psychiatrist. It took me a month to get in to see a psychiatrist. And when I finally got to see her, I told her what was going on. And she gave me antidepressants too. And I'm like, what is going on with the antidepressants? Why does everybody keep trying to give me this? I don't want this. I want you to tell me why I'm acting like this. And she couldn't help me. So she referred me to a therapist. I saw my first therapist, she didn't work out. The second therapist ghosted me after I told her what was going on. And then my third therapist, by the time I got to her, I was full of attitude. I was like, "Look, something ain't right. I need to figure out what it is. Either you're going to help me or you're going to let me go like the other ones did." Because at that point, I had also developed abandonment issues because of the last two that couldn't help me. But
Mm.
um, she told me, she said, "No, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to help you. I'm going to see you through this." I was like, "Okay, whatever you say." That's what the rest of them said. But she actually did help me. First, I was diagnosed with severe anxiety and depression.
Mm.
So that was part of the reason I had lost control of my emotions. And so she started with me with talk therapy. I told her I was against the meds. I didn't want no meds. And she was like, "Good, I can't prescribe you any." So we did talk therapy. And then she introduced me to guided journaling. Guided journaling is where you are answering a specific prompt for a specific topic that you want to work on. So in my case, we started off with self esteem. I had very little to no self esteem issues. So every prompt that she gave me was geared towards self esteem. And it ended up working for me. Just answering those questions, those specific questions pertaining to my self esteem, I was able to take my pen and paper and write out things, stuff was coming out that I didn't even know was in me.
Mm.
And that's why I am so adamant about using pen to paper because we can have a thought in our head, but once we start writing it out, it could turn into something else. And that's a great way to release. And that's exactly what I did. I released every emotion, everything, every situation. Through the talk therapy and the guided journaling, I learned that I had some childhood traumas. I
Mm,
had adult traumas that never was dealt with, never talked about. I grew up in the environment where what goes on in the house stays in the house. You don't tell outsiders your business, so you suck it up and keep going. And that's what I thought was right. But initially, no, that's not right. You have to talk about your issues, or they're gonna compile, and you're gonna explode like I did. So
mhm,
that's how I started my business. I started it in 2021 after what 18, like 3 years of me going through the motions and seeing how it worked for me. I said, okay, there has to be someone else that feels the way I feel, don't want medication, but wants to get to the root of the issue and wants to work on that and heal from it, and then go help somebody else do the same thing. So that's what I do essentially. I took the guided journals that I created for myself and
mm.
I published them and I started selling them. And I started helping other women with the same issues because, when I was going through my issue, I felt like I was the only one. I was alone, lonely. No one else can, you know, no one else has ever gone through that. And that's not true at all. And that's why, not only I teach with the guided journals, I also, go around and I speak. I tell my story of how I overcame what I overcame and how you can do it too. If I could do it, you could do it.
Okay, so I wrote down a few questions as I was listening to your story. Can you
Mhm.
explain to some women, because when you tell or when you have a conversation, and there's a lot of people who will not go get counseling, doesn't matter if it's a life coach, mentor,
Mhm.
psychiatrist. So can you explain to people what is the difference between a psychiatrist and a therapist? Because some people really think that it's the same thing.
No, it's not the same thing at
Can
all.
you
A
explain that?
psychiatrist is there to diagnose you and to prescribe you medicine. That's all they do. They don't want to hear about your life story. They don't want to hear about any of that. They
Oh,
are there to observe you.
okay.
And
And
they're
then
going to ask you some questions, and based on your answers, they're going to diagnose you with something and they're going to prescribe you medication. Now, I'm not
oh,
against medication. If someone needs that, that is perfectly fine. But my thing is, let that be your last resort, not your first resort.
right,
And
right.
see, a therapist, they actually can diagnose you, but they don't prescribe you with anything.
Okay.
They they ask you the same questions, and they can tell you based on your answers and based on your body language, and they look at everything and tell you what you're diagnosed with, and they give you a plan of action of how to work with it. And in my case, it was the talk therapy and guided journaling.
Do you usually have to get a referral in order to see a psychiatrist or a therapist, or can you just make an appointment on your own?
For the psychiatrist, yes, you have to be referred to one.
Okay,
Therapist, no, you do not.
okay. And then let me ask you this. So you said that you started to have times where you would be angry and that you would just lash out. So were there any triggers for you? Because a lot of women feel like they're just kind of going through the motions. They don't really see it as it being diagnosed as something. They just feel like maybe they had a bad day or they're stressed out or they have all these other things going on. But were there triggers for you? Like, where did something happen to where you got emotional and then you start lashing out, or it was just randomly you were just having these episodes?
In my case, I woke up one Sunday morning, and when I woke up, I knew something wasn't right. I thought, oh, maybe I'm going through a funk or something. I just woke up not feeling good emotionally, and then it got to where I started feeling like I had a literal black cloud hanging over my head, like I could see it. Nobody else could see it, but I could see it.
Mm.
And it was just, it wasn't anything anybody said or did, but as the days went by, I would pop off if you told me good morning.
Oh, wow.
That's how bad it got.
And
Like,
so
why
there
you
was
been?
just a heaviness over you, no matter wherever you went, you woke up, you went to sleep, there was just something out of
Mhm.
balance, and then there was just a heaviness.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So how has women's response to you been? Because a lot of women, they don't understand guided journaling. Even me, like when I have vision board parties and then I always talk about writing things down, I have never told women to be more focused in like the things that they're writing about. And I don't think that, and for me, I didn't really know that there was a difference. But where do you think the difference is? Just regular journaling, just write down whatever thoughts you have, and then you kind of released, versus you just have this specific topic and then you're writing things down and then you have release, so that women can understand the benefit of guided journaling.
Both ways are good. Journaling, just writing down on paper, you're brain dumping, you're, releasing whatever is on your mind right then and there, you write it down. That is perfectly fine. But for someone like me, when I found myself using regular journaling, it was making me mad all over again.
Oh
Because,
wow.
okay, why am I writing this down? I know what happened. I don't need to be writing this down. That's the
Mm.
kind of mindset I had back then. But with guided journaling, we are I'm taking you on a specific topic. Let's say you wanted to write about setting boundaries. You want to work on setting boundaries. Every question that I ask you is going to be about setting boundaries. That means you're focused on that question. You won't veer off to another topic. You won't, be talking about anything that doesn't have anything to do with setting boundaries. So I needed that guidance, that literal guidance to keep me focused on that topic.
And then I think that that's a good point, because when you just literally just write everything down. So let's say, for instance, if I've moved to a new city, and so I have 1,000 things to do. So I'm writing down all of my ideas of what I want to do. I can feel overwhelmed because there's so many things that I need to do. Versus I just have focused guided journaling where this is what I want to do. So I don't become so overwhelmed because my focus is just on this one thing. And so that's kind of
Exactly.
what it's like, right? Um,
Exactly.
so so was it difficult to get those emotions out? Like what would you tell a woman who's trying to do guided writing, or who's just trying to do regular journal writing and they can't get the emotions down on paper? Like what are some of the things they can do to help them write?
With guided journaling, you don't have to think about it.
Mm.
Really. You're looking at that question and you just start writing. Like I say, it's one thing to think something and you know what you're saying in your head, but when
Mm.
you're writing it down, it could turn into something totally different
Totally
that you
different.
didn't even know was there.
Mm.
And if you're doing regular journaling, which is also fine, think about how you're feeling in the moment, write that down. You think about, what happened in that situation. You're telling your story, but you're writing it down and you're naming the characters, naming the instance, naming, what feelings you had, how did it come out, all of that when you're just regular journaling. But when you do it the guided way, you're more able to not be mad about what you're writing about and you're able to be more honest.
So how has your life changed since you started doing the guided writing, the guided journaling?
It has changed a whole lot because, back then I wouldn't dare be sitting here telling you that I had a nervous breakdown.
Oh
So
wow.
it's helped me to change my entire mindset, the way I think about myself. I have reestablished my relationship with God through guided journaling. I had a guided journal specifically for my prayers, and all my
Mm.
prayers that I wrote down, they were all answered, all of them.
Oh,
And I was like, oh my goodness! I was like,
oh, wow,
yes,
that's a testimony in itself.
yeah.
How often do you write in your guided journal? Like, was it more in the beginning, but now it's not as much?
Of course, yeah. In the beginning, it was every
Mm.
day. And it
Mm.
doesn't take long. That's one thing that turns people off about journaling. They think you have to sit here for an hour, 2, 3, 4 hours and write. No, you can journal in as little as 5 minutes. Just
Mm.
get something down on paper. And for me, in the beginning, I was every day for as long as I wanted to. But now I do it. Well, right now I'm doing it every day because I'm doing gratitude every day for the year of 2024,
Oh,
and
wow.
that takes about 5 minutes or less. But when I have an instance going on, I pull out my guided journal and I write as long as I need to, as much as I need to. So it just depends on the person. You don't have to do it every day, though.
Do you carry your journals with you wherever you go? Because I do. Like I have a backpack and I have journals with me wherever I go. I'm always writing things down. Do you do
I
that?
Yes, in the room that I'm in now, this is my wellness room that I'm in. I have all of my journals in here. I have journals in my nightstand by my bed. I have journals in my car. Yes, I have journals at my desk at my job. Yes,
Oh,
I write it down.
so, what are some of the topics? So, let's say that we have some ladies who they're not really sure where to start, but they just have some things that they're trying to process, and it could just be just a number of things. But what are some of the main things you think a woman could start to write as far as guided journaling, like main topics? Just a few things to where she can start to kind of get her, rolling in it.
Unpacking emotional baggage. That's the one that I recommend for anyone who knows something's going on and they just don't know what or don't know how to approach it. Unpacking emotional baggage. Then there's one for I have a guided journal for women who feel unappreciated,
Mm.
and that's like one of my number one sellers. If they're
Oh,
feeling overwhelmed and unappreciated, I have a journal for that.
and so that's one of
And
your bestsellers.
huh,
And so that's one of your bestsellers.
hmm
Oh wow. Oh
and then
wow.
I have a anti self sabotage guided journal. It's
Oh
called
wow.
Get Out of Your Way. That's another bestseller.
Oh wow. Ladies, she has some amazing journals. I'm gonna get your information towards the end so that when they can support. Do you ever go back and then you read your journals? And if so, how does it make you feel? Like do you feel sadness or like do you feel like you've overcome some things and so it makes you feel proud? Like how do you feel if you go back and read them?
Yes, I go back and read them.
Mhm.
When I first started going back and reading them, I was like, "Is that me? That couldn't have been me writing that."
Oh wow.
My handwriting has changed since I
Mhm.
first started. My handwriting isn't the same. The words I use isn't the same. It had me do a whole mindset shift. And I used to think that I was so grateful for everything, but looking back at my guided journals, I
Yeah.
was not at all. And I was like, oh my goodness, I used to think I was just the most grateful person in the world, but no,
And so when
you
you
was
go
just
back
a
and
different
look,
person.
and so when you go back and look, and then you can actually see growth, and then you can see that
Yeah.
you are not the same person. And so that's another
Mhm.
reason, ladies, why journaling, especially guided journaling, that's something amazing to do because sometimes you forget. Sometimes you kind of vaguely remember, but the depth of your feelings and then the depth of things you were going through and what happened during this situation, sometimes when you go back and it could be 2, 3, 4, or 5 years, and then you can actually see how far you have come because
Yeah.
sometimes when you standing in it, like you know that you've come far, but you don't realize how far you've come. And I don't mean like just material stuff. I mean just spiritually,
Yes.
emotionally, physically, mentally, just the way you
Mhm.
communicate with people, the way you look at life, the way you view things, things that are important to you now. And so sometimes when you go back, you can see the growth. So, do you have a favorite scripture or are there some affirmations that you kind of stand on? And so those help you stay motivated?
Absolutely. I
Okay.
have, I wish you could see, I have affirmations all on my wall, and I say
Um,
all of them, but my biggest ones are the I am. So, like this one, it says, I am loved, I'm secure, I'm worthy, I'm positive, I'm blessed, I'm grateful, I'm beautiful, I'm confident, I'm courageous, I am enough.
And so that's something else that we can tackle because we are talking about journal writing, but it's also important to have positive things within your space, within your
Yeah,
atmosphere. And I say all the time that we set the tone for the atmospheres that we stand in. And
yeah,
sometimes you can be writing in your journal, but if you're sitting in the middle of a room and there's nothing but toxic things going on around you, there's a different experience for you whenever you're writing things down. So can you talk about the importance of just having positive things within your atmosphere, like being intentional about the things that you have in your space?
yes, absolutely. As far as affirmations go, I
Mhm,
always tell my clients, get a sticky, a post it, write
mhm,
your affirmations, stick it on your mirror, say
mhm,
them.
mhm,
Any mirror that you look in,
mhm,
have your affirmations there to say them. You remember them. I have affirmations on my desk at my job on
mhm,
post-its. in case, because someone's always going to try to come after you, always, always. And you can't let, especially when they know you're healing, that's when the enemy really tries to attack you. And you can't be, discouraged and, put off on your game because somebody else. So you have to surround yourself with positivity,
That's
literally.
true too. That's circles, that's people you have conversations with, the
Yeah,
music you listen to, the stuff you watch, like that's everything. There is nothing that is too small. Every element, everything you do kind of balls up into something greater. And so everything counts. So if you're listening to toxic music all day, but then you're writing down in a guided journal saying that you want to have a positive life, then you have to make things make sense. And then there's also
exactly.
something else is digital. So on my phone, I have a picture of me and it's on the cover of Essence because this is a goal for me. So even though I
Yeah,
have stuff in my office and I have stuff at home, I still have things that are digital because if you think about it, we hold this more than anything else. Every time it says
absolutely.
Essence and Queendom.
Yes.
I got my little photo and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's just small things.
Right.
See, do you see what I'm saying? So
Yes,
it's
man.
just small
Yeah.
things. It's just the small things count, ladies. Ladies, so can you give the ladies some information on how to find you, your social sites, how to buy your journals, so that they'll know how to support?
Absolutely. You can find me. My website is ShawntiRefuge.com.
Mhm.
And my social media handles, all of them are the same. Shawnti Refuge Journals. That's my handle on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I'm not hard to find.
And then, so let's end it with this. What are some of the things like whenever you have your coaching sessions, and then when you talk to the
Mhm.
ladies, and then you say, okay, this is our focus today, and this is what we're going to write down. What are some of the challenges that women say they have when it comes to writing?
Being honest with themselves.
Is it because it hurts?
They don't they don't want to acknowledge that they played a part in whatever situation they were in. They want to stay in that comfortable victim mentality, and we don't sit there in my coaching.
Oh wow! And then that's important too, ladies, that you have to be
Yeah,
held accountable for the things that you allow.
yeah.
And people do to you whatever you allow them to do, right? So you set
Especially
the
as an
tone
adult.
for things
Mhm.
that you'll allow. Okay, again,
Mhm.
thank you so much, ladies. Shawnti Refuge. She's told you all how to find her. Thank you again for coming on the podcast. Again, I am Demira Virgil, and this is Queendom Conversations Podcast. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.